Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Forward DFW together with the Dallas Morning News. I'm Ron Corning, and today we're talking about what it really means to be a community bank in the 21st century. Comerica is kind of redefining what it is to serve the community, both nonprofits and small businesses, which, by the way, account for 99.9% of all business in the U.S. Brent Harriman is joining us. He's over the state of Texas, Senior VP and Regional Director for Comerica. And also we have Eric Brooks here, who's on the local level. You're sort of in there seeing on a day-to-day basis what small businesses are dealing with. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But first, if you don't mind, Brent, give me a sense of, from a high level, what small businesses are up against in terms of challenges as they do business in this economy.
Sure. Well, small business owners typically are starting their business because they're good at what they do. They're good at taking care of customers. They're good at delivering on projects or products. What they typically don't do is take a step back and look at where's my business going. Nor do they typically have facilities to do that, especially if they're, started their business out of their home, right? All they know is how to deliver that kind of heads down revenue producing duties. And so what we want to try to accomplish is help them with some of the bigger things.
And that's where the redefining what it is to be a community bank comes in, because for a long time you've recognized the importance of having small business bankers on site, accessible and available. But you're now actually opening up the physical plants, the physical spaces like we're in right here, to small businesses and nonprofits who need the space, who need to make a professional Zoom call and not from their kitchen. Where did that idea come from?
Well, our Chief Experience Officer, Jim Weber, is the one who will take credit for it, but really Eric and I kind of came up with it. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen, we're all here to give credit where credit is due. Eric, it sounds like a promotion is in your future because of this. But in all seriousness, you do see it on a day-to-day basis, right? You see small business operators come in, and have they expressed over time sort of that they're in limbo? They're trying to figure out what the future looks like with this home, work, life, downsizing from office space and so forth. Many of them aren't in co-work spaces, and they can't afford co-work spaces, and you're providing that for them. How does it make you feel to see the evolution of the Comerica Bank brand in this way to meet small business owners where they are?
Well, I think, if I were to put it in one word, it makes me feel proud. I'm really excited to be part of what's happening. Business has changed over the past several years, to your point, where there's now more co-work. And what we found with small businesses in the under $5 million space is they're looking for resources. They're looking for tools to help them grow, to help them generate revenue in their business. So I'm proud of the fact that I'm with an organization that's looked at an opportunity to put together resources like this and offer them to existing customers, to nonprofits, to organizations that really could use the help.
Yeah, we're going to run through what some of these amenities and benefits are, but we need to make it clear that it's offered to those small businesses that bank with you. Unless you're a nonprofit, you don't necessarily have to bank at Comerica in order to take advantage of some of these amenities. You spoke off camera, and I want you to talk about it. Your wife, who's a small business owner, and your wife as well, both of you. And sometimes, a Starbucks just isn't, no offense to Starbucks, it just isn't the right place to take every meeting, right?
Right. Sometimes you do need a quiet place to get away that's also professional, right? We all know what all's happening in the home day in, day out. Maybe it's UPS making deliveries, maybe it's the dog, maybe it's whatever. And so sometimes having a nice, quiet, head down place or a more professional environment to meet clients, to meet vendors. And so kind of going back to what Eric said, proud to be part of that we're able to provide those types of resources to small business owners who typically don't have access to them.
Now, we know that there are a lot of businesses that since the pandemic have gone the way of downsizing their workspace.
Right.
Or they've sold off real estate they don't need. They've leveraged the value of that to build their business differently. You could have done the same thing, but you didn't. And that decision was made why?
When you've got an asset like a building, right? And for a bank in particular who's growth oriented, how are we going to do this? We know more and more transactions are going online. We still have these footprints. And so looking at that as a resource, right? And instead of making the decision, no, let's cut this off, let's downsize, to actually open it up and to help not only small business, but those nonprofits, to be that force for good in our communities, give them a place where they can leverage an asset that they don't have. Again, it feels good to be able to do that for folks.
Well, and it gets back to what really banking was meant to be in the first place, right? A connection with the community to help with growth and prosperity and economic prosperity and a better quality of life. And you didn't plan for this, but this news of what you're doing, I think, is even more impactful because it's happening against the backdrop of stuff that started out west with regional banks and a crisis there. And when you look at what you're doing juxtaposed against that, I mean, the impact of it really, I think, will land a little differently. Not something you planned on, right, but it's just the reality of it. And so, given that, how do you think this will be received as news spreads?
Well, coming out of National Small Business Week and talking with business owners, and we talked about, providing this type of resource, we see these small business owners, they're living that American dream, to work for themselves, to build something for themselves. We see the employees and customers, those lives that are being impacted, and the fact that we get to step in and say, you know what, this is for you. We want to invest in a tangible way into your success. Again, it makes us feel good about what we're doing.
Well, and I think it's going to be difficult for a nonprofit to use your space and not at some point think it's just a matter of having a reciprocal relationship to do some banking here, or it's just a matter of convenience. It's like we're already here, we're greeting guests here, we're having meetings here, we're hosting events and so forth, which is one of the amenities you're offering. I want to run down at Common Spaces. So that's an open desk, a monitor, other amenities. Private space, you can book a private office, conference space, community space. When we talk about community space, is that where we're talking about that nonprofit maybe hosting an event to get to know their own community?
Absolutely. I think a room like this is a perfect example. I mean, this is one of our community spaces, and certainly for the nonprofits to host those events, but also not limited to those. If you've got a training session for a small business organization, or any sort of other opportunity,
networking opportunity,
right?
Bring donors in, bring donors in and introduce them to your brand.
Absolutely,
as a nonprofit,
critical opportunity to really get to know the community in any aspect that the nonprofit is looking for.
Some of the amenities, easy online reservations. You can get online, you can find a space that's available at a bank branch near you. You've started with some 6 locations so far in North Texas out of your 56 and are going to be expanding pretty rapidly, as I understand, through the end of the year. Workstations and monitors, printers, high-speed Wi-Fi, complimentary coffee and water, and a shred site. I mean, every detail here is accounted for. Was that by design?
Absolutely. The shred site in particular, something we're very excited about. We like to focus on helping small business owners manage cash and manage growth with our financial tools. But one of the areas, managing risk. And you think about how many old documents, tax returns, stuff that you haven't touched in years sitting in a drawer. Well, that's a risk to a small business. And so providing a shred site where you can come in, hey, I've got to get rid of some things. I've got to clean house. I got to take care of that administrative side. Again, it's another great resource that encompasses all the aspects of that small business.
And for Eric, some people, this is going to be an opportunity to hit the reset button and kind of figure out and catch their breath after the pandemic, what their next chapter looks like, serving a real purpose there. And that's important, isn't it?
Oh, I think it's critical. I mean, so often a small business owner can be overwhelmed by all of the individual focuses that running a small business requires. So if we can take some of that off their plate, whether it's with a space, whether it's with a shred site, any of those pieces where they can, to your point, hit reset and focus on what they got into small business for to begin with. And that's, again, to Brent's point, because they were really good at doing something. They were really good at working with customers. They were really good at solving issues. Again, I think it gives them the opportunity to take a breath, take a beat, and reset and get successful.
And they may feel more comfortable with having conversations about what it's like to maybe get a business loan to grow their business and so forth, because they're here in this environment.
Well, and not only getting a business loan, but again, we talk to hundreds of businesses that are in the same industries just like yours.
You end up being a matchmaker in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
And helping network.
Absolutely. It gives us an opportunity, again, to be that resource, that extra resource that a small business owner needs.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out as this happens in real time. And we want to let people know how they can sign up, get that online reservation, find a location. Here's how you get that information, and we'll be back in just a moment. Not a Comerica customer? Find a banking center location near you and take advantage of Comerica Co-Workspaces, along with a wide range of financial services and expertise. For more information about Co-Workspaces, visit comerica.com/spaces. All right, everyone, we are back and talking about Comerica's Co-Workspaces, which are right now at more than a half dozen branches in North Texas and expanding quickly. In fact, from the time we tape this to when you see it, for all we know, other branches will open. So get on their website and continue to look for that growth opportunity, as a lot of small businesses will be doing. My takeaway from this conversation with both of you is these small businesses, we touched upon it briefly, by being in this space may feel less intimidated about pursuing some opportunities for financing and so forth. But in general, they've got a resource here, do they not? Almost like a small business consultant to help them as they meet certain hurdles and challenges.
Yeah, exactly. And you asked us earlier, where did this concept come from? It really came from small business owners and listening to them in focus groups, not only having a space to get away, but I just want someone to talk to. And when I've got a question, if I've got a problem, who can bring me some advice and some ideas? And of course, we've got small business bankers. This is what we do. We talk to small business owners. We try to help them manage cash, manage growth. And so one of the big benefits of utilizing this resource is I've got a small business banker who can jump in and help me if I've got a question.
And that's what you do in your job. You oversee the small business component of banking, having a bank available not just as a place to hold your money, but people who are willing to provide guidance and assistance is really what banking should be, right?
Absolutely. Again, I'm really, really excited. One of the things that we hear time and time again from our small business customers and our nonprofits is we just wish we had a dedicated small business resource, not only a facility, but individuals, and that's exactly what we get to do on a day-to-day basis. We work with hundreds of small business owners, really in understanding how they're managing cash, managing growth. We really get to lead with insights, really get to share ideas and techniques that others in the industry are using to succeed. And I think that's exciting, that we have that resource to help small businesses grow and flourish.
And many small businesses give back to the community. So they may be in this workspace
Right.
and meet somebody from a nonprofit who's having an event in your community space, and partnerships could grow from that, right? Their donor base could grow as a result.
Well, not only that, but a lot of nonprofits struggle with finding board members. And so hosting a reception to introduce new people in the community to the nonprofit, introduce them to possible directorship. Again, having a nice facility to host those kind of events. We think it's, again, going to be a great resource for those types of organizations.
Well, Comerica becoming a new community center really in neighborhoods all over North Texas, small towns, big towns, right here in Dallas as well. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we appreciate you watching Forward DFW together with the Dallas Morning News. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time. And a reminder, for more information about Comerica's Co-Workspaces, visit comerica.com/spaces.